I think I'm sensing I've made this interview hard for you because, I feel like there's a little, not pushback, but just kind of like reality check of what it really means to do a full-on public art program on campus grounds.
I was walking around campus the other day and I was thinking to myself how great the campus would look if we had more sculptures. And then I started to get mad because VCU has a nationally ranked sculpture program and yet we only have 3 sculptures on display. That doesn't make much sense to me. Naturally, I wanted to hear some other students' opinions on this sculpture crisis, so I went out and I asked around. Do you think the sculptures are inspiring at all?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't really, pay them any mind. I don't know what to say about them.
Honestly, I don't really notice them that much. I feel like for an art school, we could honestly have more, better designed on-campus art.
VCU doesn't really have a lot of sculptures, which is very surprising to me just because there's a lot of students who could make sculptures if they were given the chance to. And yeah, we just have a lot of talent at VCU, so I'm surprised that they're not using it.
So it turns out that a lot of students actually never notice the sculptures that are on campus, and some of them didn't even know that we have a sculpture program. It's a shame that VCU has so much talent and isn't using it. So, in this episode of VCU's Got Issues, come with me, Isaac Martin, as I interview the graduate director of the VCU Department of Sculpture, Kendall Buster.
Cool. All right.
To learn about the public art process and the possible reason why student sculptures aren't displayed on campus.
Oh, it's a good question. Well, one of the things you hit on with that question is process. Public art, I think, has slightly more complicated processes because of that fact that, you are using public funds, let's say, for example. So typically what happens is you try to make it equitable and fair. And so a lot of times there is a process. It's called a call for entries. And so a commissioning body, they put out into the community a call to enter and say, hi, this is a situation, this is this opportunity, we have this budget, and that keeps it open and fair. And a lot of times it'll be not just one person's choice, but a committee. So to give you an example, when I did the chemistry lab at Princeton, the Frick Chemistry Lab, I was asked to consult with the chair of the chemistry department to talk about what were their needs, what were their ideas, what kind of visual image would be relevant. In a way, those are the kind of things that come up, just who's it for, how are we going to decide this in a way that's fair and equitable and open to, like you said, ideas that we maybe hadn't thought about.
So next, I brought a new question to students. I asked them, what kind of sculpture do you think we need on campus?
I just want to look at something and be like, wow, I think if they do put a sculpture on campus, it should be something that college students can look at and just breathe.
It doesn't have to be that deep. It really could even be students' art, something that makes you kind of look at it and think, I wonder what this is about.
I think it's time for students to band together and to, create their own aesthetic of the school, of their own space that they occupy every day here.
It's clear that VCU students would welcome more art on campus, and so I think the solution here is simple. I think we should let sculpture students create art for the campus. So, to get an idea of the probability of this kind of program, I asked Kendall, do you think there's value in letting students create sculptures for students?
No, I think there's great value because I think there are all kinds of conversations that happen along not only generational lines, but also shared experience. So students creating work for other students, if you think about art as communication, which you certainly can, then there we go. It's students communicating to other students. As with most things, it depends on time and money. I'll just be quite blunt.
My name is Emmett Lee. I'm a VCU sculpture major. If I had the opportunity to make a sculpture for VCU, I definitely would take that opportunity I think it would be such an amazing chance just to have my work seen by the public. I know we do sometimes have small gallery shows, but most of the time the people that see that are other artists and other art majors.
Emmett is one of many sculpture students who would appreciate the chance to get their art seen on campus. But I was hit with a reality check when I asked Kendall if she thinks that permanent sculptures should be the way that we do it.
I do think that permanent pieces on campus is a different conversation. Well, the expense, and then the fact that how do they age well? Age well both physically and conceptually. I will say this, one of the things that's good about having a public art program that's varied is that there are opportunities for temporary works that are less expensive, can be equally as impactful, but they're for a shorter period of time because they don't have to be done out of these absolutely indestructible materials, and there's more room for experimentation.
Okay, so in conclusion, we can't just throw any sculpture on campus and expect it to be on display forever. That makes sense. But what if we explore this idea of temporary artwork instead? Like Kendall said, it's less expensive and can be equally as impactful, but with the added bonus that we could bring exposure to more students' work. So although permanent sculptures seem a little bit out of the equation right now, I at least hope that we can decorate our campus with temporary student work instead. Special thanks to Kendall Buster for her insight, and thank you to the many students who I interviewed for this episode. This is Isaac Martin, producing for VCU's Got Issues. Goodbye.